Just like my iPhone, I don't go anywhere without my MacBook Pro, and when I hear Apple is due to update it, I get pretty excited. So today in this video, we're going to be going over everything that's supposed to be or may be featured in the next generation MacBook Pro. So the first thing that comes to mind when we think of new MacBook Pro is a potential new design. Now the Retina MacBook Pro design has been the same since the Retina display in the MacBook Pro was introduced in 2012, especially for the 15-inch model, and then the 13-inch followed that fall, but we may be able to see a sleeker or slimmer design, a little bit different, but not by much compared to what we have right now. And of course, this can be done by eliminating and changing up some ports. So when we look at the MacBook Pro, we know that for users, it's the peripheral heaven because it has all the ports that you'd ever need power-wise. It's got Thunderbolt ports, it's got USB 3, it's got an SDXC card slot, HDMI port, just about anything you'd ever need. So what can be changed? Well, first of all, those USB 3 ports can easily become USB-C, and before you tell me that you're gonna get crazy with needing adapters and stuff, that's not a huge deal. We do need to move away from these giant USB ports. It just needs to happen. Now that HDMI port on the flip side can also go. There's really no need for it anymore. A lot of stuff goes through AirPlay nowadays, especially if you're using an Apple TV or beaming to another device. It's pretty simple. There's really no need for that port. There's also the potential of losing the SDXC card slot. Now this is something I use a lot, especially for YouTube videos, so I'd be kind of disappointed to see this go. But again, with an adapter through a USB-C port, this wouldn't be a problem. And of course, the charger would change from the beloved MagSafe. I'd be pretty disappointed to see that one go too, and we'd revert to a USB-C type port for the charger, similar to the 12-inch MacBook. So in the end, all that really needs to stay is those Thunderbolt ports because Apple has made Thunderbolt so accessible by so many different accessories and cables. It kind of needs to stick around for a bit. I use it a lot, especially for my two monitors, and as well as the 3.5mm headphone jack. As much as Apple wants to cut that from the upcoming iPhone 7, I think for a lot of other peripherals such as speakers and stuff like that, it needs to stick around on the MacBook Pro. Now, as far as processing goes, as we know, Apple has been meaning to update the processors in the MacBook Pro for quite a long time, but over the past few years, it's kind of been choppy, and it's all because of Intel and their delay on releasing processors for the different size MacBooks. For example, last year, the 13-inch was updated with the new Broadwell processors in the early part of 2015, while the 15-inch wasn't touched and still uses the old Haswell processors. But soon enough, Intel's new Skylake processors will be ready for production in use in Apple's new MacBook Pros, so it would be nice if Apple just pushed the new processors at the same time in both of the computers and we wouldn't have to wait for the 15-inch because I'm going for the bigger size anyways. Keeping internal components in mind, we move to something like RAM, which really hasn't been touched a lot. A lot of people were predicting that instead of the standard 8 and 16GB RAM options for both of the MacBooks, Apple may bump it to 16 and 32 gigs of RAM. I am totally going for that 32 gigs. However, historically, Apple hasn't been so generous with RAM, so it's a possibility that it will stay the same as 8 and 16 gigs. I'll stick with that 16 gigs though because I need that speed. And if you're wondering about SSD storage changes, I think they're gonna stay the same. I would like to at least see Apple get rid of that 128 gig, 256 gig garbage and just leave it at the 512 gig and 1TB storage options. I also think Apple believes heavily in the cloud and they'll try to push as much on you to use iCloud storage versus local storage. Another big ticket item on the list is better battery. Now in the 15-inch, there's a whopping 10 hours of battery life, and that's with the mid-2015 model. However, I have the mid-2014 model and I only get 8 hours of battery life, and let me tell you, it sucks, and I really want to see Apple improve this area big time. Now, there's also been small talk about size changes, and considering Apple had no problem bringing this 12-inch MacBook to the line, which no one really saw coming, I could totally see Apple doing this, and it's been predicted that the 13-inch MacBook Pro would go to 14 inches, and the 15-inch MacBook Pro would go to 16 inches. Let me tell you, I am totally going for that 16-inch. That would be great. That's so much real estate space on a screen for a laptop. It's actually incredible, and to be able to get all my work done in such a big space, I think would be awesome. And then there's talk about the MacBook Pro getting the same color treatment that the new 12-inch MacBook brought to the table. So right now that's available in gold, silver, and space gray, and as you know, the MacBook Pro is only available in the standard aluminum color, but it's been the same for so long, and if you think back at one point we had those ugly white plastic Macs, and there's just been so many different changes that maybe Apple will want to change it this time around and offer colors. Now there's also a rose gold option available with the iPhone, and that's rumored to come to the iPad, So for it to come to the MacBook Pro, I wouldn't be surprised. So we may see the next MacBook Pro available in space gray, silver, and even gold and rose gold. And while we're on the topic of small cosmetics, this is the last thing I wanted to put out, and I think that Apple will finally update the keyboard font and key feel with the new San Francisco font that Apple's been using worldwide on everything that they produce now. Software, hardware, you name it, they feature this font. Not even the font, but also the key feel, because the keys are very different compared to what the current keyboard on the 12-inch MacBook or the wireless Magic Keyboard that Apple now sells. It's quite a different layout and feel compared to any previous generations. So I can't see Apple putting out this old version again that's currently featured on the current line of MacBook Pros. I can definitely count on seeing that updated. I think it's safe to say that the MacBook Pro is definitely due for an upgrade. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are. Of course, give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button below. Of course, be sure to stay tuned for my content on any event that Apple has announcing this and any other products that they want to feature. And also, I do plan on getting the next generation MacBook Pro in the biggest size possible, absolutely spec'd out. So if you guys want to see some content on that as well, be sure to give this video a thumbs up right now if you do. That's it for this one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.